Welcome to Screen Crush, I'm Ryan Airy. Loki, Prince of Asgard, brother to Thor, villain turned anti-hero, and arguably one of the best characters in the MCU.
Surprise!
The Loki Disney Plus show is right around the corner, as the God of Mischief will be put to work cleaning up the timeline. Now, in celebration of Marvel's first true anti-hero outing, let's dive deep into Loki's character, his journey in the MCU, the comics, and even going back thousands of years to his origins in Norse mythology.
I am Loki of Asgard, and I am burdened with glorious purpose.
Many love him for his charm, and it's hard to resist Tom Hiddleston's bad boy persona.
Say my name! Say my name!
But we actually love Loki because we care about him. This mischievous god is human and relatable. We are attracted to his flaws, his self-doubts, his jealousy, his greed, and his need for acceptance. His vulnerabilities speak to us directly because we all feel this way in our own lives. In a way, it's easier to relate to Loki than the godlike perfection that is Thor.
What?
But underneath it all, Loki's character boils down to a complex struggle with identity. The loop is ironic in its significance in its relation to Loki, due to the meaning of his name. Loki derives his name from Lok, which is the Norwegian word for loop. Long before Loki ever appeared in the movies or was drawn in the pages of comic books, he was the focal point of Norse mythology, and those ancient myths are tied to every iteration of Loki, defining him through time. Loki's name is associated with knots, tangles, webs, and loops. These cycles are centered around Ragnarok, the end and rebirth of the world, and all of these cycles are directly caused by Loki. In the Nordic myths, Loki is the catalyst of change. He's the agent that propels the Norse myths forward by inciting dramatic chaos. The Nordic myths establish Loki's endless obsession to be recognized as a god, to be accepted and respected as an equal.
I take the cash, and I take the respect. To some people, that's more important.
And when he can't achieve it, Loki is left with his jealousy and hatred. That's the loop of his identity. The modern Loki was created by Stan Lee, Jack Kirby, and Larry Lieber, and made his first appearance in 1962's Journey into Mystery number 85. However, this wasn't Loki's actual first appearance in the comics. Loki predates Thor himself, serving as a villain in Timely Comics' Venus way back in 1949. That version of Loki shared very little with this modern version. He was depicted as an Olympian god with traits similar to the devil. It's only fitting that Loki starts as something that he's not, only to transform into something new. And round he goes, tangled in a constant cycle of dramatic change and evolution.
Like a tape playing over and over on an endless loop.
The modern comics version of Loki shares many similarities to the MCU version. However, in the comics, he's far more evil and hateful. The comics version of Loki is also trapped in a loop. Ever since he was exiled from Asgard, he's constantly trying to win the throne and destroy Thor.
Do not stop until the throne of Asgard belongs to its rightful lord, Loki.
For most of his run in the comics, Loki was depicted as an evil supervillain. However, in recent years, he's become more of an anti-hero. This change happens after his death and rebirth, when he becomes Kid Loki. This once again proves Loki's ability to break from his own loop. Now, this will become crucial later on.
Why have you done this?
To prove to Father that I am a worthy son, and I will be true heir to the throne.
In the MCU, Loki's whole identity is a looping conflict between the man he is and the man he thinks he's supposed to be.
It's time for me to be who I am rather than who I'm supposed to be.
All of his obsessions and lofty goals boil down to the battle for who he really is. When Loki and Thor were children, Odin set up an impossible competition between the brothers by declaring that only one of them can be king.
Only one of you can ascend to the throne, but both of you were born to be kings.
For Loki, this means one thing. He's forever to be overshadowed by Thor and can never be seen as an equal.
I know your place, brother.
Thus begins the endless cycle of Loki's clash with identity. To be worthy of Odin's approval, worthy of Asgard's throne, to simply be worthy. Loki wanted to be the ideal Asgardian, just like his brother and father.
All this because Loki desires a throne.
It is my birthright.
Your birthright was today!
Loki felt out of place among his peers. His friends were suspicious of him, but others mocked him.
What happened? Silver tongue turned to lead?
He can never achieve his aspirations. Maybe it's due to his self-entitlement or his need to always appear as a tragic victim of his own story. This made Loki jealous and resentful. Loki displays his insecurity by belittling people he feels are beneath him.
We have no quarrel with your people.
An ant has no quarrel with a boot.
He likes to feel stronger by making others feel weaker, once again projecting his insecurities onto the people who make him feel inferior to begin with. The only way for Loki to level the playing field was to undermine Thor, prove that he was actually never worthy of Odin's affection, so he'll be banished. Then Odin will see that Loki was always his best option. This is why Loki is such an exceptional character. The best villains have compelling character motivations, beliefs that we can relate to. No one cares or remembers the villains are just evil for the sake of the story.
The great men and women of the world have always been defined by their enemies.
The tragedy is that when Loki finally removed Thor from the equation, he was hit by a Midgard-shattering truth. He's not an Asgardian. He's not even Odin's son. He's a frost giant, a monster.
You're my son. I wanted only to protect you from the truth.
What, because I'm the monster parents tell their children about at night?
How could he ever be accepted if anyone knew who he really was? Loki is forced to use deceit to prove his worthiness. He kills his father, Loki, not only to prove to Odin that he's a worthy king, but also to purge away the frost giant within himself.
And your death came by the son of Odin.
He extends this logic by trying to destroy all of Jotunheim.
I will have destroyed that race of monsters, and I will be true heir to the throne.
That's the irony of Loki, that he must lie to everyone, including himself, as symbolized by his magical illusions. Loki's pivotal moment comes at the end of the first Thor film, when he must face his actions. Facing both his brother and father, Loki tries to justify it all with another self-lie. In his mind, he's justified. He believes that he's proved his worthiness to Odin, that he's a better king.
I could have done it, Father! For you! For all of us!
No, Loki.
This breaks Loki, throws him into the dark abyss of his own identity. If he's meant to be the monster of the story, so be it. So he embraces the evil God King persona. He wants to rule Earth despite Thor, because that's what's expected of a villain.
I remember you tossing me into an abyss. I who was and should be king.
So you take the world I love as recompense for your imagined slights.
However, Loki's transformation into the bad guy is just another illusion, a way to ignore true change, because it's easier to lie than to face the truth.
Look around you! You think this madness will end with your rule?
It's too late.
All of his truly evil actions in 2012's Avengers are not his own, even killing Coulson. According to Marvel, he's under the influence of the Mind Stone. Loki doesn't have true agency as the villain because it's all a charade.
Where is my disadvantage?
You lack conviction.
Thanos is the one pulling the strings as he plays on Loki's worst traits. Yes, Loki has a dark side, he's misguided, but he's no Thanos. After being rejected and failing to achieve his goals, Loki becomes aimless. He failed to become the ideal Asgardian, and then he failed to conquer Earth, so what's left for him now? Who is he without these ambitions and goals?
Tell me!
In Norse mythology, Loki serves as the catalyst of change. Loki is also the catalyst for change in the comics and the MCU, being the threat that causes the Avengers to initially assemble. Loki was the first step in the MCU's path to the Infinity Saga, which eventually leads to Infinity War and Endgame. The irony is that while Loki is the catalyst of change, he can't change himself. This brings us to the 4 goodbyes, 4 turning points in Loki's arc, 4 moments that crack open the facade identity he's created for himself. Each goodbye brings Loki closer and closer to breaking free of his loop and embracing his true identity. The first goodbye is with his mother.
Always so perceptive about everyone but yourself.
Of all the people in his life, only Frigga never made Loki feel weak. She was the accepting mother who helped him, cared for him, taught him how to use magic. She gave him tools to be his own man. As punishment for his actions on Earth, Loki's thrown into a cell and forgotten by his brother and father. Frigga is the only one who makes Loki feel like he still matters. She makes him feel like an equal and not an evil monster. But Loki is unable to appear weak even in front of his loving mother, which is why their final moment is so tragic.
Your father...
He's not my father!
Then am I not your mother?
You're not.
And those words would later haunt him when Loki is inadvertently responsible for his mother's death. When Loki realizes this, he falls apart. We see him at his lowest, no illusions or tricks to hide what he really feels. We see a broken man. This turning point provides him with a new purpose, vengeance, going after Curse, who killed his mother.
Did she suffer?
I did not come here to share our grief. I know you seek vengeance as much as I do.
Loki and Thor team up like in the old days, reminded of their true bond as brothers. When Loki is with Thor, we can see their brotherly love, their banter.
No, don't hit it, just press it gently.
I am pressing it gently.
Look, why don't you let me take over? I'm clearly the better pilot.
Is that right? Well, out of the two of us, which one can actually fly?
Despite all their differences, they bring out the best in each other. In these rare moments, we see the cracks in Loki's illusion. We see the real Loki. After he gets his vengeance and kills Curse, he fakes his death and tricks everyone once again. He reverts back to his safe place, the loop, where he can pretend again. He gives himself a tragic hero's death, finally becoming an ideal Asgardian.
I'll tell Father what you did here today.
I didn't do it for him.
He tricks Odin and takes his place. He builds statues of himself, idolizing and glorifying his legacy, tricking the Asgardians into finally accepting him. But it's all based on a lie.
I can't believe you're alive. I saw you die. I mourned you. I cried for you.
I'm honored.
The second goodbye is with his father. When Thor and Loki meet Odin for the last time, Loki expects his dad to be angry or disappointed. He braces himself for punishment. Instead, Odin welcomes Loki and Thor as equals.
My sons. I love you, my sons.
This acceptance is what Loki has always needed. Just like with Frigga, Loki doesn't get a chance to make things right. Odin fades away, leaving Thor and Loki to face Hela alone. But Loki's true change arrives in the third goodbye, with his brother.
Loki, I thought the world of you. I thought we were going to fight side by side forever, but at the end of the day, you're you and I'm me.
Once it's clear that the Grandmaster is finished, Loki decides to stay on Sakaar, to be the ruler of Sakaar, where, as an Asgardian, he will get to feel superior.
Let's be honest, our paths diverged a long time ago.
Yeah. It's probably for the best that we never see each other again.
That's what you always wanted.
This hits Loki because he understands that this could be the end of his relationship with Thor. Loki realizes that he doesn't want to be left alone without his brother. He loves Thor, and in a way, both brothers need each other. Loki's schemes caused Thor's banishment, but that experience humbled Thor, allowed him to meet Jane and join the Avengers. Now, Loki needs Thor to push him in the right direction.
I trust you. You betray me round and round in circles we go. See, Loki, life is about growth. It's about change, but you seem to just want to stay the same.
Loki didn't get a chance to make things right with his parents, but he has a second chance with Thor. And so, when he comes to Asgard's rescue against Hela, he doesn't do it for personal gain.
Your savior is here!
Well, he kind of does.
Did you miss me?
No, Loki arrives as the true hero, the one that saves the day. Not just for himself, but for Thor and for the people of Asgard. He's finally embraced who he really is.
You know, maybe you're not so bad after all, brother.
Maybe not.
And as the movie comes to an end, Loki finally stands by Thor's side without feeling overshadowed. Loki is able to break free from his loop because of acceptance. However, there is one final goodbye which tests Loki's change, Loki's end in Infinity War. When Thanos arrives, Loki has the chance to revert back to his loop, to once again pretend and lie. He can betray Thor, again, and survive. But after his change in Ragnarok, he can't go back to that miserable cycle.
There's no going back. You've changed things. Forever.
Instead, Loki sacrifices himself. He stood no chance against Thanos, but he proved to Thor that he finally embraced change. This is a goodbye to his past self. It's about what he says before he dies.
I, Loki, Prince of Asgard, Odin's son.
In his final moments, he finally embraces his true identity. Loki had to lose everything in order to learn that what he needed was right in front of him all along.
You're my brother and my friend. Sometimes I'm envious, but never doubt that I love you.
Thank you.
Now give us a kiss.
Stop it.
My world rocked. It's like, are you crying?
What's that?
Are you crying? Am I crying? No, I'm not crying. You're crying. It's okay to cry. People cry.
In the Norse myths, Ragnarok is about death and rebirth, and in the comics, no one really dies. And so, Loki is reborn as well.
Come on. What did you expect?
The Loki on Disney Plus is from the alternate 2012 timeline from Endgame. But this Loki hasn't gone through his growth and transformation. This Loki is fresh off his fall from Asgard.
You've literally stabbed people in the back like 50 times. Why never do it again?
This Loki is still trapped in his loop. The question is, will he also be able to break free from this cycle and break the loop? But let me know what you think. What are your hopes for the Loki series? Will Loki succeed in changing? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below or at me on Twitter. And if it's your first time here, please subscribe. For Screen Crush, I'm Ryan Airy.